Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
I feel bad about it.
Okay, yeah, okay.
No, I'm going to say I like
okay,
it.
we're here. No problem. You can do it this way. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Look like we're on. It's okay. We're on. Okay, no problem. This is community television, and right up front with you, I got a couple of candidates in the house today. A couple of candidates in the house today, and we want to make sure that we give this one of the candidates. He's a young man who's running for Congress. And we want to make sure we give him his devoted time here. We're gonna give him a good 15 minutes, good 10, 15 minutes, and then Lou Ogden, our Bureau of Labor Industry, I don't know his candidate, but as far as I'm concerned, he's already there.
I already voted for him.
Oh, you already voted for him?
Yep.
Well, gee, well, we got to make sure okay, fair. We have invited all the other candidates. It's like anything else. It was always open to the public. And folks if they show up, you're here. Well, anyway, we got this young man. He called me just a few minutes ago, and he was in town, and he said, gee, Mr. Broussard, is it possible I might be able to get on? I said, yeah, why not? Come on.
Hey.
Taking a little time from Lou, but that's okay. Lou feels comfortable about that. I feel comfortable about that, and the public feels comfortable about it. This is it, folks. Hey, the 15th is right around the corner. Right around the corner, you get out and vote. You got I call it the Bible. You're not supposed to use the Bible, but I'm old jarhead. You can use that's what it is. In God we trust, it says, right?
Yeah, world is the Bible.
Hey. All right. So anyway, we got the voters pamphlets right here, and the bottom line is that make sure you read it if you have to, but do vote. I think a lot of times between presidential elections, it's always a low turnout aspect of it. But no, it's very important right now. We really need to get out and vote. We got some major issues facing us at this point in time. We got the homeless issues. We got mental illness. We got jobs. We got all kinds of things that are facing us.
Definitely.
So it's very, very important that you get involved. So with that, I'm going to introduce this young man. He's running for U.S. Congressman. He's a candidate for Congress. His name is Stefan Strek.
Yep.
Am I right?
Definitely, yes.
Stefan Strek, the 4th District, 4th Congressional District. Let's get right on into Stefan. Okay, first off, let the people know who you are, right?
Righteous.
And what area you're running from.
All
okay?
right.
Go on
So,
real quick. Right?
My name is Stefan Strek, and I'm running for U.S. Representative in Oregon's 4th District.
Okay.
It's based out of Eugene. I spent a lot of time growing up in Cresswell in Pleasant Hill.
Okay.
Got to do all the, traditional...
Like Southern Oregon, so to speak, right?
It's just south of Eugene. It's about central 4th District.
Okay.
But by Portland standard, that's definitely Southern Oregon.
Yeah, right.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah, so I got to, have some good experience growing up on the farm. My sisters had horses, so I had to do a lot of the work to take care of the horses.
Okay.
Fixing fences, mowing fields with the diesel tractor, and it was a good experience, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's, something that really helps me appreciate family farms and the importance of independent, family-run business. So I'm based out of Eugene at the moment, and they keep telling me, how can you be running out of Eugene as a Republican? They got you surrounded.
Okay.
But I say, no, we got them surrounded.
Okay.
You look at the district map, everything outside of Eugene is red.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're in a good position to take this race.
Is that right?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
what do you think are some of the major issues that you're running in that area?
All right, number one is guns. I'm working to, yes, I love guns. I've always loved guns.
Okay.
That was, something very important to me, always. I love Clint Eastwood, all that. And so right now, we've got a really vicious set of attacks on our Second Amendment rights coming out of Los Angeles and New York, a lot of dirty money that's funding these anti-gun legislative bills. So my agenda, if elected, first thing in Congress, I want to put forth legislation that puts criminal penalties against anyone that is passing or enforcing anti-gun legislation. I don't think it's constitutional that they're able to do that.
But you do still feel they have a right to...
They have a right to voice their opinion.
Right, okay.
But, it's no different than if they're passing laws that say you can't have your freedom of speech anymore.
Right,
you
right.
can't, saying you can't vote for whatever reason. It's absolutely un-American.
Okay.
Definitely. So, number two, veterans. I've spoken with too many veterans. I've been campaigning since over a year ago, last March, is when I started this operation. And I spoke to a lot of veterans, and they told me that besides jobs, what they need is proper health care. Because right now, if you're a veteran going to the VA, what I'm told is if they say anything less than a 10 out of 10 on the pain scale, they do not receive the surgery that they want and they need. They're just sent right back out the door, which is absolutely abhorrent to me.
Now, you know I'm a veteran.
I know you're a veteran.
You know I've been reaching out to veterans.
Yeah.
You know my background. No,
Yeah, yeah.
The
I appreciate that.
Veteran administration is very important to veterans.
Yes,
And
yes.
there's still veterans out there that, in all due respect, that haven't gone in and taken advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah,
We got some
yeah,
problems.
it's,
a lot of them are homeless.
Definitely,
You know what I mean?
definitely.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
so
They need
also speeding up access to housing.
Okay.
Because it's absolutely wrong. You know, I can't believe it that we've got illegal immigrants getting free food and free housing like that, while we have veterans that are starving and homeless on the streets of America here in our state of Oregon. It's, you know, I would not have thought that this is the America I'd be facing today.
Okay, so
when I was growing up.
how do we address those issues in your district, the district that you're running out of?
Well, first
how do we
off,
address the issues of homelessness, for instance?
Yeah, well,
How do you
first
do it?
off, actually getting some accountability with the VA's office. Because right now, you know, Peter DeFazio has had 30 years in office to address these issues. He's only just begun to start looking into it, and he's on his way out of office anyways. You know, he's ready to retire. In his 30 years in office, he's sponsored 488 bills. Only 9 of those were ever passed into law, and only 1 was within the past 10 years. That's lazy, in my opinion. We need someone who works hard for real working-class Americans.
Okay.
On top of that, he's co-sponsored an additional almost 7,000 bills. And this is why we can't get any real work done in Congress, you know, because they come back from vacation and they've got miles and miles of this garbage legislation, which is just financed by special interests. You know, we shouldn't have these congressional representatives that are willing to sign off on any bill that they're handed some money for under the table.
Okay, but let's get back down to Oregon.
Yes, Oregon.
Okay, let's
That's
talk
exactly
about,
what's
let's
happening.
Talk about our homeless situation.
Yeah.
Do you have is there a homeless problem within the 4th district?
Absolutely. It's out of control.
Okay,
You go
like what?
downtown
Like
Eugene.
what are some of the areas? Yeah.
You go to downtown Eugene, you basically can't go a single block without seeing 2 or 3 homeless people, either on the corner begging for money, or they're curled up in a doorway or an alleyway. They're sleeping on the sidewalks. The Eugene City Council recently passed an ordinance that the homeless cannot be moved from the sidewalk unless they are blocking the entire sidewalk. And it's out of control.
So how does the Stefan address this issue? How will you address the issue of homelessness in your district?
Well,
Trish?
jobs.
In Congress. Jobs?
Jobs, definitely.
Like what? What are you going to do?
Well, there's a lot of homeless people that have experience in construction, manual labor, real trade skills,
Okay.
which we don't have enough people to do right now.
Okay.
What we need is to allow the government to give contracts to non-union workers. So that way we can get jobs for homeless and veterans that have the skills that we need in our communities, but they're not allowed to work because of the unions cutting them out of the operation.
So how do we train those folks if you don't have? Normally, a lot of times the union, from the labor force aspect of it, normally they are identified as the training component to a certain degree.
Yeah, that's their
So how do we-
reputation.
And then you got the other side.
I'm just talking about people that have these skills already and they want to work, but they're, you know, prohibited from working because of the unions having a complete control over who gets to work with the government contracts. I don't think that's right. Nobody should have to pay a union boss to work the job that they've earned their training for and become proficient at. And we're talking about a generation that grew up learning how to do woodworking, welding, mechanical labor, and they're being denied their job opportunities by the unions and by the government that's cooperating with the unions to cut working class Americans out of their jobs.
Okay, so so are you saying that you'll be working with the Bureau of Labor, let's say, from the state of Oregon?
I believe so. I believe I would be working with the Bureau of Labor to increase job opportunities
the issue.
for real Americans, yes.
To address this issue.
Definitely.
Okay.
The unions do not do nearly enough work to help the people that they're supposed to represent. The union leaders just sit back, they collect their checks, they extort workers, in my opinion. It's extortion that they say you have to pay to keep your job that you earned through your skills.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
What other areas, specific area that you feel that there's a major issue here within the state of Oregon? In the 4th district.
Well, within the 4th district, especially, we've got problems in the foster care program.
Foster care.
Both youth foster care and senior foster care.
Okay. How will Stefan deal with that issue?
Well, by really addressing the issue and bringing attention to the issue. Once again, DeFazio has had 30 years in office, and he's only just begun to even look into these things. You know, they just found, I believe it was the Roseburg VA, had an incredible amount of misappropriation going on with their system just not helping the people that they're obligated to assist. And that's inexcusable. You know, we need actual real accountability in government and for government workers. They shouldn't just be taking any excuse for a vacation and turning down the requests of people who need help. Yeah. For example, there's a young woman I know who this past year, she was aging out of the foster care system.
Okay.
Had some surgeries, basically wisdom teeth, broke her ankle, and then had tonsils out. So she was, you know, in recovery for about a solid 3-4 weeks and fell behind on her ability to pay rent. So her social worker was supposed to help out with that to get the state to cover that bill. We're talking about $600, not that much money.
Okay.
I'm sure the social worker earned more money than that by sitting around not doing her job.
Okay.
So comes around, rent's a week late, so I have to call her up and say, hey, what's going on? You know, why hasn't this been taken care of? And so it turns out there's a whole bunch of, well, not a whole bunch, literally 2 or 3 phone calls that need to be made and a little bit of paperwork signed and faxed up to the Capitol. Still took an extra week to get that taken care of, and I had to do that work to make sure that this young woman was able to have her rent paid on time.
Okay.
If I hadn't been there to do that work for my friend, then she would have been kicked out of a regular apartment.
Okay.
Or sent back into the foster care program. And I'm not talking, this is a 19-year-old young woman who works hard, nights, weekends, overtime, as a nursing assistant to take care of people. And these are the people that are being left behind by the government. Yeah.
Okay.
And then similarly, with the senior care program, you know, youth foster care gets a lot of attention, relatively speaking, because people are empathetic towards children. Senior foster care is completely neglected, and that's unacceptable. We're talking about a lot of these facilities that are outside of city limits, out in county grounds, and there's nobody doing checkups on them. There's nobody making sure that they're compliant with state law. And there's just awful things. I don't want to mention it on the air, but there is horrible human rights abuses going on in the senior foster care program. And I will work hard, if elected, to bring attention to these issues, hold the people that are abusing our state's most vulnerable citizens accountable, and work to really help these people. I care about both youth and seniors in the foster care program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I take it this is your first time running?
Well, it's my first time running for Congress. I ran for mayor of Eugene about 2 years ago, 2016.
Okay.
I was in the same vote as painful as Donald Trump. I'm really proud of that.
Okay.
That was great. Just turning the page. Donald Trump, Stefan Strek.
How many people ran during that time?
I had 4 competitors in that race.
4 competitors?
Coincidentally, also got 4 competitors in the race I'm in now.
Okay, so how'd you finish in that mayor's race?
I like to say I won the popular vote.
Which is what? Were you number 1 or were you number 2 or 3?
Well, with my voters, I'm number 1. That's
Okay.
what they keep telling me.
How'd you fare out?
Yeah. Well,
what were you in the mayor's race? What, 3rd?
went
second?
several thousand votes. It's comparable with the 2 other guys who ran and
so-
didn't collect
So
the...
did they rank? I mean, was it 4th, 3rd?
Basically,
second?
first, second, and then a 3-way tie.
3-way tie?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically.
And you were,
Yeah,
which one?
in the 3-way tie.
3-way tie?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, the 3-way
I was.
tie. Wow.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I never, well, okay, all right. That's a 3.
Happens. I
It
mean,
happens, yeah,
but
okay,
once
okay.
again, I was up against someone who was. It's a nonpartisan office.
Right, okay.
They
okay.
They always make it a partisan
Okay,
issue.
okay,
In this
okay.
state, nonpartisan should mean nonpartisan.
Okay.
But, you've got the Democrats, and they are vicious about making nonpartisan races into partisan issues.
Okay, okay.
So they were saying, you got to vote for this one Democrat, because otherwise, we're going to lose.
Okay.
They use scare tactics to get people
Okay.
to vote
Well,
instead of really educating the
Well,
populace.
Stefan, you're going to be great. You got a
Yeah.
lot of energy. I can tell that.
Thank
much.
you. Thank
got
you.
a lot of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You just got to stay focused, right?
Yeah, staying focused. And
pick
also
up- yeah,
staying
pick
focused
up
on
good.
taxes. I
Okay,
want to get
good.
more money in the
Okay,
pockets of
okay.
working class Americans and
Okay.
working class families.
Okay.
I want to see an elimination of overtime taxation. If someone works over 40 hours a week, they should keep every penny of that paycheck past the 40-hour mark. I don't believe that should be taxed. We're talking about families, often single-income families. A man working to feed his wife and kids, or it's a woman working to support the kids. Either way, they're working that extra time because they need that money.
Okay.
You know? And then, in addition, I don't believe in payroll taxes. You know, we're taxing the companies paying their workers, and then we're once again taxing the workers on the money they're being paid that's already been taxed.
Okay.
That's wrong. Double taxation, in my belief, the government already has way more money than they need
Okay.
to get everything done that needs to be done. They're just completely misappropriating the funds
All right.
through a lack of responsibility. I would like to see an elimination of payroll taxes for any company that is worth less than $10 million a year.
All right then.
Yeah.
Well, Steph, you looking good. I mean, like I said,
Thank you, Bruce.
you got quite a bit of energy there,
Yep.
and that's the 4th district, right?
4th
How
District.
do they contact you? Tell the folks out there. How do they contact you?
There's a website, www.votestrek.com. That's STREK, like Star Trek with an S.
Okay.
There's also the Twitter, @Real Stefan Strek, STEFAN STREK. And then we got the Facebook page, facebook.com/votestrek.
There you have
Yo,
it. There
thank you.
it is, Stefan. Okay.
Yep.
Good luck to you, buddy.
Thank you, Bruce.
All right. Sounds
Yo.
great. Sounds great.
Yo.
Okay, fine. What we'll do, we'll take just a little short break, and then we'll get to our next guest.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vaughn.
Yep,
Good
one day at a
job.
time. Thank
That's
you.
right. Good job.
Yeah,
buddy.
and good luck to you, Bruce.
All right, good luck to you. Okay,
Definitely.
buddy. Sounds great.
Yep.
Okay.
You are watching Oregon Voters Digest. This program can be seen again on these channels on these dates and times. Tell a friend.
Okay, folks, again, I'm Bruce Broussard, your host here at the Oregon Voters Digest. Again, you got to get out and vote. Got to get out and vote. Again, this is Mother's Day, as I said on my Facebook. We wouldn't be doing any politics until after breakfast and lunch.
That's right.
So we're after lunch, and now guess what? We've got to get in there because we really have to get out and vote. You really have to express yourself, because too often what happens is that we normally have a low turnout and whatever, or if not that, you you know, after everything is over and folks have been elected, and then all of a sudden you get concerned. I mean, yeah. Then you say, well, I want this happen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now's your opportunity, if you will, to do that. You've got something that you can address the candidates here in your voters pamphlet. You've got those, okay? And then naturally, you got the flyers, you got this, that, and the other. But again, you go back to the voters pamphlet in many ways. But the bottom line is that you got to get out and vote. Get out and vote. You can't mail your ballots in now. It's just too late.
That's right.
You're just going to have to basically stand in line and do it. But right now you got today and you've got tomorrow and maybe half of the day up to 5 o'clock on Tuesday. And then that's it, folks. And then they'll be reading off the name the following Wednesday. And you can't call anyone in there during that time. They're all rested up.
It's all done.
It's all done for another 4 years in some cases, but we'll have another election in 2 years. And then we'll have a presidential election aspect of it. But now's the time, and so I thought I'd bring this person back on here. I've tried to invite the other candidate. Unfortunately, they haven't called. So I said, hey, this is a very, very important race. It's part of our establishment. In fact, I even see someone trying to possibly, from the media standpoint, trying to eliminate the position and saying it should be an appointed position. No, it shouldn't be an appointed position. No, let's just keep it the way it is. Because again, we talk about politics again. That's an area there, and that we need to focus. It focuses on jobs, the legality of jobs, the apprenticeship program, very, very important. So that's what it's all about. So I done some things about Lou on one of the other shows not too long ago. He was here. And so I think we're just going to go and take advantage of it again, because this is such a very important job. So we're going to let Lou spend more time in whatever area that he wants to spend in. I'm going to ask him a couple questions. Voc Ed is a very, very important deal.
Absolutely.
I mean, when we think about our educational system and you think about the failure rate in our schools and this, that, and the other, that's why I was excited about Lou along that line, because our young people, if you will, need something, some motivating factor, if you will, for them to pick up the book. So if they got Voc Ed in those schools, they got the trades and this, that, and the other, come up with some sort of a system where we can maybe put an apprenticeship program in the schools across the board, an apprenticeship program, not a pre-apprentice, an apprenticeship program.
That's right.
And when they get of age, they've already gotten their card. They can work during the summer, if you will, and then guess what? They can do blue-collar work during after school, and all of a sudden, if they want to go to college, they can. If not that, they can still pursue that career. Everyone can't be chiefs. You got to have a few Indians, but trust me, those Indians get paid pretty well.
That's right.
You know what I'm
That's
saying? So with that, Lou, welcome aboard.
Well, you've just described my whole purpose in running, Bruce.
Hey, that's why you're here again.
That's right.
That's why you're here
Exactly.
again. That's why you're here again. So why don't we just do a little preliminary piece
Sure.
and introduce yourself again real quick,
Well,
like,
thank you.
and then we'll just go right up into that.
Sure. Well, for those folks who don't know, again, I'm Lou Ogden, and there's the sign. And I am currently the mayor in Tualatin, and Bruce knows that. I've been mayor this is my 24th year
that's
as
right.
mayor.
Wow.
A couple years on the council before that, so we go way back.
Yeah, we do.
Working through this region
That's
at
right.
Metro and so many
that's
things
right.
going on. But now I want to do for the state of Oregon what we've been very successful in doing in Tualatin. If you think of Tualatin over the last 25 years, we've had a tremendous amount of growth. And that growth has been really in neighborhoods. In 25 years, we've doubled the population almost. And I'm really proud of the fact that in our surveys, 90% of the people who live in Tualatin not only like it there, but they would recommend their friends and family to move there. And that's really important, because building community is important. And particularly when you lay that on the backdrop that in that same period of time, we've grown more jobs than we've grown residents. So we have about 28,000 people living in Tualatin. We have about 35,000 or so jobs in Tualatin.
Really?
So, and a good number of our jobs, we have several sectors, but more than one sector, the average income, some of it is over 6 figures. Median income in our advanced manufacturing is 6-figure income. Median income in our professional services is that level. And to your point, many of those jobs don't require a college degree or an engineering degree or whatever. So we've been very successful in bringing business into Tualatin. And then thirdly, we're really well known for our amenities, commercial. We've got Bridgeport Village, now we've got Cabela's, and we've got so many other great restaurants, and we've got the Tualatin Commons. And so what's all that got to do with why I'm running for the Bureau of Labor and Industries? And simply put, I want to do for the entire state of Oregon what we've been successful doing in Tualatin.
Awesome.
And that is keep the economy prosperous, keep job growth, support business, support small business. That's the backbone of the economy in Oregon, and be in a position to do that. So the Bureau of Industries supports business. And then at the same time, unfortunately, as you pointed out, even though we've got great prosperity in Tualatin as well as across the state, but particularly in Tualatin, it isn't shared equally. There are so many people that struggle hard, work hard, they're intelligent, they're motivated, but they don't have the skills needed to earn the higher incomes. So in the Bureau of Labor, we want to support labor by making sure every Oregonian has access to skills training. And we'll talk more about that. But as you pointed out, that's young people in the school system.
Yes.
And that's also folks out of school that need the tools to support their families. So you put those together, you got the Bureau of Labor, you got the Bureau of Industries, it's the Bureau of Labor and Industries.
And it makes a lot of sense too.
And that's not been done by the Bureau of Labor and Industries for so many years. So we're going to retool our purpose.
Well, that's the interesting thing about it. Like I said, you've run a city, and you've developed that city, and recognizing the fact that a city can't survive unless, in fact, someone's getting a check, and you've got good families, and people will come there, and the whole 9 yards. And so now you've got this positive in it, and you want to share this, if you will, around the state, and do it again through Bureau of Labor.
Exactly, the best place to do it.
Makes lots of sense.
That's right.
And you've got good examples, if you will.
Sure.
And that's a very important piece. And I'm not taking it away. I'm taking the politics out of it.
Exactly.
And that's the key. It's
Right.
not. This is not a political position that I see you as.
Well,
I see
actually,
you more as
Bruce, as you know, and maybe our viewers don't know, this is the only official non-partisan office in the state of Oregon.
right.
Statewide, so you got governor, secretary of state, treasurer, attorney general, and the commissioner of BOLI. BOLI, Bureau of Labor and Industries, BOLI. And it is the only nonpartisan one. So every viewer, whether you're a registered Republican, a registered Democrat, registered Independent, Constitution, Green Party, or not registered at all, your ballot has the Bureau of Labor and Industries Commissioner on there. And I'm happy to tell you, my name's the first one on every ballot for the Bureau of Labor and Industries. So vote for the top name, and you got me.
That's a good. Well, you know, it's so important, especially during any election process, that the person has to have the resume for the job.
Yes.
That's a very important. In fact, I'll even go beyond that point, because this is kind of an educational thing with us anyway, and I'm sure you'll feel comfortable with that. When a person, I'm thinking that when a person filed for office, I'm running for office, it's just a name. All you have to do is put your name and your phone number and put the money. I think they need to spend a little bit more time on that. For instance, I think whatever office that they run into, the entity that pretty well develops, that's responsible for that office, should identify maybe 3 major issues that's facing for that particular office.
Exactly.
And that person would have to respond to that in the filing process.
Exactly.
And then that will help out quite a bit, because it will take out a lot of the other stuff that tends to people buying the vote, if you will, in many ways, but really just getting right down to the resume.
That's right.
With the person, and that's I think that's a very important piece.
Well, that's a great point. So that's what we try to do. You mentioned the voters pamphlet.
That's right.
When you read the section on the voters pamphlet, we submit it in there, and on our handout card.
The same thing. You got your resume on the back, and then there you are, right.
We
there.
talk about the 3 things that are important, which is supporting labor, by closing the skills gap. So every Oregonian has the opportunity to make more money. That's about having skills. And then about supporting industry by building the economy, making sure we create more jobs. Because with all the skills in the world, if you don't have the jobs available, there's no place to work.
That's right.
And the third thing is really to bring, fairness and balance to the Bureau of Labor and Industries. It hasn't been perceived as a government entity that's been focused on workforce development. It's been focused on compliance and wage and hour, and that's important. If employers are outside the buoys, we need to bring them back in the channels so they're doing things right. It's very important. But we've got to broaden our effort and really address Oregonian families.
You know, as you mentioned, this is a nonpartisan race, and I think that was somewhat of a mistake when they took the education piece out of that.
Right.
And they made it so political, and now we have a problem. But that's why I'm saying I think your job is going to be very, very important, because you're going to be in the schools.
That's right.
You get my point? Because in all due respect, that's what that job was supposed to have been doing.
And the great thing about the job is not mislead anyone. The Bureau of Labor and Industries is not the Board of Education.
That's right.
We don't control education. We don't control businesses. They're separate entities. And we don't control the labor unions. But what we do, and what we should do, and what I will do, bring all 3 of those to the table.
Very much
and we
so.
got the unions and the labor here, and we've got business here, education here.
That's right.
And we come together and we say, what do we need to do to replicate the good things that are going on across this state for skills training, but they're happening sporadically, episodically. There might be in Hermiston, there's a great program. In Medford, there's a great program, but it's not in the schools. In Tualatin, there's a great program. Hillsborough, Clackamas County, but we haven't integrated into the schools like you say. And I got gray hair, so I can tell you this. When I was a kid, people would say, what do you want to do when you grow up? And kids would say, I want to be a fireman or a nurse or a policeman.
That's right.
Today, kids don't really know because they haven't seen those role models of those job opportunities.
Right.
We bring that in at the middle schools, the elementary schools, and the high schools.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And this is hands-on stuff.
Absolutely.
That's the neat thing about it. Auto mechanics.
Right.
Home ec.
That's right.
All kinds of things. I can still remember the time, like you were saying, when I was going to school, we had that.
That's
You
right.
got my point? And when you think about it, our education, that's the whole idea. At the top of the it's about careers.
And how can you know what you want to do
That's right.
when you get out of school if you don't have any image of what that looks like?
Exactly.
So we need to get kids out into the workplace at early ages, whether it's job shadowing, paid internships.
Yes.
High school kids ought to be able to go out and work in the workplace on a paid basis. Get credit, like you said. If it's an apprenticeship program, get credit toward an apprenticeship program. Get high school credit toward their graduation. And then when they graduate, they can either go into that field or they can go into a related field. Or they can say, I want to go into college, but I know what I want to do when I get to college because I've had these work experiences.
Yes, exactly.
I had the benefit of that, and I'm sure you did too.
Same here.
Kids today don't. In fact, if kids 14 years old and they want to go work, they can't. So, and that's taking away opportunity from them. And then they're kind of relegated to, playing video games or whatever, a teenager's going to do.
Yep, exactly. In fact, and like you said, I like that idea because in all due respect, now they're falling through the cracks. We're calling them gang members now. We're doing everything that we don't have the draft anymore.
Right.
That was another educational piece, but it's not there anymore.
Absolutely.
So this job is a very, very particular job, a very needed, if you will, a needed leader, if you will, someone that's has a resume that has some success. Very important. So that you're bringing that to the job.
Right.
Very, very, very important.
Well, thank you, Bruce. That's very true.
Important. Because in all due respect, and that's another reason why I'm doing this, folks, is because the only thing that a lot of folks have known about the Bureau of Labor of late for the last 4 years or maybe 6 or 7 years is the cake incident. Really. That was blasted all over the press, et cetera,
Nationally.
et cetera, nationally, all over the place aspect of it. And yeah, we are diversifying quite rapidly.
Yes.
But at the same time, as we're diversifying quite rapidly, we've got to eat.
That's right.
People have to have jobs.
That's right.
They have to be responsible, and on and on and on. And we don't have that entity. And that's what this means to me.
Well,
that's why I'm sitting. That's why you're here sitting today.
Well, thank you,
Very
Bruce.
important.
And on the regulatory side, regulatory is important.
Yes.
We got to make sure that the employers follow the rules.
Yes.
We also need to make sure that the rules are purposeful, that there's a real purpose in the rules. So many employers tell me that they can't hire the people that they want or they need, or they're so burdened with a lot of the compliance requirements when they're doing the right thing all along. And I think we talked about when I was here earlier that with unemployment rate as low as it is, if employers don't treat employees well, they go somewhere else. So we can do things to make it easier for employers to comply without sacrificing the rights of workers. And when there are issues that are being violated, get to them quickly. Some of these complaints go on for 18 months, and that doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve the employer. It doesn't serve the folks with the complaint. We need to be more direct, and we need to be more expedient and really be helpful to people.
Well, in all due respect, I don't know whether you can answer this question or not, but when I think about this cake incident, the idea that the person that wouldn't actually perform on the job because or whatever, but the bottom line, people are still trying to figure out what happened to that.
Well,
any thoughts?
It's still in the Supreme Court.
Okay. Do me a favor, just briefly share with them kind of like basically what happened.
Yeah, so this was a company called Sweet Cakes by Melissa.
Okay.
They're a bakery in Gresham area, and they had a gay couple that, and this was before gay marriage was legalized in Oregon. And as I understand, I'm not sure I know all the facts.
Right.
So most of what I have is anecdotal. But as I understand, these folks were getting married, and they wanted the bakery to not only bake a cake, but then, as I understand it, perform in the wedding. Serve the cake, be part of the reception, and so on. That's generally what they do in that instance. Again, I'm not sure all my facts are right, but this is the way I understand it. So I don't want to misrepresent anything. And apparently, this bakery had actually done bakery work for these folks in the past. But the bakery felt it was against their religious beliefs that two people of the same sex would be married in this sense. So they declined to participate in the wedding. The Bureau of Labor and Industries responded with eventually a fine of $135,000. Now, here's the upshot, in my opinion. Should they have baked the cake or not is a question, but not the question on the table at the moment, because the Supreme Court is still trying to ferret that out. Okay, I'm thinking they probably should have baked the cake. I mean, they should have been good with these folks and made a cake, but it's not me to judge their religious position. They should have the right to take their religious position. That's what the courts are going to decide, which right trumps. But the problem with I have is, without the court making a final decision, the Bureau of Labor and Industries went out and levied this very heavy fine, $135,000.
On a small business.
Now, to put that in perspective, I think, and you can fact check this, Class 3 felony rape in Oregon, which is despicable, has a maximum fine of $125,000. So they fine this business $10,000 more than rape for not baking a cake. And did that create compliance to make them bake the cake? No, they didn't bake the cake. They went out of business with the fine. They couldn't pay the fine. So no one got served. The cake didn't get baked. The business didn't reform or comply. The courts haven't made a decision, but this bakery's out of business and all those jobs. And if you want a cake from that bakery, you can't get one.
Can't get one.
Nobody can now.
And then the issue of the LGBT community, because they're trying to diverse, if you are assimilate, because we're all kind of going into an assimilation era right now. All of us, for that matter. All of a sudden, it set them back in many ways for some other folks.
Everybody ought to have equal access.
We didn't win.
We're all about fairness. We're fairness to everyone, regardless of their race or their religious beliefs or their sexual preferences or whatever. Everyone has a right to their own determination. But it seems to me that when those are in conflict, then reasonable people need to work that out. If it's against their religion to participate, then perhaps they shouldn't have to do that. And as long as a gay couple can get a cake made reasonably for the same cost, reasonably from another provider, what can we work out? But again, the courts are up to decide that.
Now it's gotten to that point.
Once the court makes a decision, then the Bureau of Labor and Industries and every other part of government has to follow the law.
Have to follow the law.
So we get into so many other controversial issues, whether it's abortion or gun rights or whatever. You gotta follow the law, whether you like it or not.
That's right. And we are there right now.
And if you don't like the law, then you've got to get with your legislators to change it. But you don't break it.
Or run for office.
That's right.
I'm just right up front with you and have some sort of a solution, because that becomes the resume.
Exactly.
You got me? Again, that's what we're talking about. We're signing something up. This is what I would do.
That's right.
And that's why I asked you that question.
Yeah, good. Thank you for that.
And that's a good, I like what you did and what you said, because you got to, as the old saying with the KIS says, keep it simple, stupid kind of review.
And be fair and impartial and balanced for everybody.
Yes. And that, right up front, it got so political. Then because the money, and then all of a sudden people were doing this with other small businesses.
Sure.
And some people were going out of business as a result of that.
Right.
You got my point?
Right.
And we need business.
And small business is the backbone of the state.
Oh, gee whiz, very much so.
And we need to support small business.
Now, let's get back into I want to go back to my voc ed piece.
Okay.
Because I think about in terms of what are the responsibility of the Bureau of Labor. When one says apprentice, what's the definition of apprentice, and how do you all supervise that with entities, and how can one make application, if you will, for
right.
You see what I'm coming from? I'm just kind of giving an opportunity to educate the folks a little bit about how the Bureau of Labor relates.
And that's a great question, because the Bureau of Labor and Industries is actually responsible for certifying the apprenticeship programs. And one of the things that most folks probably don't know is that there's a real shortage of apprenticeship programs across this state. They're prevalent in the high population areas, but even when you get outside of, let's say, Eugene, you get out in Central Oregon, you get at the coast, all these places, there aren't apprenticeship programs. So if the unions haven't established the apprenticeship programs, the businesses ought to be able to do that. And we need to support them to be able to do that. Not every apprenticeship program has to be a union apprenticeship. Now, the unions do it best.
You're right.
And they're the consummates at that. And we absolutely need their leadership and their expertise and the role that they play. But where they don't exist, we need the flexibility for small businesses to come together and create their apprenticeship programs. And then the other thing I think we need, Bruce, is we need the opportunity for businesses to do training programs that may not be actual apprenticeship programs, because it may not be a skilled trade, but it may be manufacturing, it may be some other level of work where larger businesses have the capacity to do their training programs, whether it's folks that they're going to hire or folks they've already hired to get them ready for on-the-job training. Small businesses can't build that. They can't fund that. So there ought to be a way for the government to incentivize the larger businesses to open up those training programs to the small businesses. So perhaps there's a high-tech company and they've got a training program, and you and I have a small business doing high-tech as well, but there's only 3 or 4 of us. We got 10 employees. We're going to bring in a new guy. Rather than us trying to train him, can we take him to the bigger company, maybe pay a bit of a tuition, maybe have the state help out, and then do the training, as long as it's not proprietary, special to that company, and share and pool that training. So not rely upon the government to create the training or rely upon the unions to create the training if it's not there. So we can do that. We can do that also at the high school level.
Yep.
You know, what we miss at so many of the schools are the shops because they're not there. So what about a shop that isn't used in the evening in a small business? Maybe it's a metal shop, maybe it's a wood shop, maybe it's a welding shop. Why can't we use that business's location, bring those classes out into their facility? Again, pay them for the use of those facilities, whether it's a tax credit or an actual fee, and not have to rebuild shops classes in every school. Utilize the ones that are out in the industry. And what does that do? It gets kids working in those places. They learn there. Maybe after they learn a little bit more, they can actually get employment there, part-time after school or full-time when they get out of school. And it's good for everybody. It's a pipeline for business. It's a career path for kids. I think it's a great approach.
Good. In fact, as you were talking about this piece, I can remember when I had relationship with AGC, Associated General Contractors, they're on one side, and then with the trades on the other side aspect of it. And there was this effort to basically put together apprenticeship within the schools.
Right.
In the poor schools.
Right.
It's just particularly important public schools.
Sure.
And then there was some competition there.
Okay.
And my point is that the guys with the labor force aspect of it on this side of the rung knew more than these guys.
Yeah.
But these guys over here were trying to get in the same business.
Okay.
In certain
Okay.
fields. And I was right in the middle of that piece. And naturally the federal government appropriated the monies to do that stuff. But at the end of the day, it
didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Wow.
It just didn't happen. And then naturally, who loses?
The kids.
The kids lose it
Right.
big time. So I'm just throwing something on the table here
Sure.
again, because it's still, we need these two factors
Absolutely.
anyway. But the fact of the matter is, when you think about the trades over here, you got all these guys retiring and this, that, and the other. I look at them as instructors. You got me?
Sure.
The schools got facilities.
Sure.
Including, because when you start thinking about community college, those kids are still in high school.
Right,
You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? And nothing to do.
That's right.
And they expend themselves, and then at the end of the day, they're still out of work.
That's right.
And still not trained. And the employers are sitting out saying, I sure could, if you had a training program or apprenticeship program. I guess where I'm going with this is that you think I'm just throwing something out, you think there might be a possibility to apprenticeize, if you will, the schools.
So you hit the nail on the head.
And
And this is happening already. It's
Okay.
happening, again, many chambers of commerce across the state are working with their community colleges, some with their high schools, and with their local industries to create these training classes. And in Hillsborough, the chamber is doing it. They're doing it for the Hispanic population. It's called El Centro Cultural, which is a training program in Hillsborough, integrating with the chamber and the high schools, and the city of Hillsborough is helping. Fabulous program. I mentioned out in Hermiston, Blue Mountain Community College is working with the Hermiston Chamber of Commerce and some local businesses, and it's going on in the Medford Chamber of Commerce, the Tualatin Chamber of Commerce, North Clackamas Chamber, all over the state. I was just down in Springfield, and their Chamber of Commerce is working with one of the companies is Johnson Industries, and they're hiring these interns where they're doing these training programs. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
Smart people already know how to do this, and they're doing it.
But they got to incorporate it.
But it's happening, yes.
But they got to
It's
incorporate it
happening
at
all
the
over
bureau.
the place.
That's
It's
what
not
I'm
happening.
Yeah.
It's programmatic.
But no one's putting it together, though. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's the key.
It's three simple things. Take what works and replicate
That's right.
it.
That's right.
Replicate
That's
it.
right.
Scale it. Make it happen everywhere.
right.
And then integrated into the schools so that we don't have to work so hard to make it available to kids. It becomes part of their curricula. And you know, it's interesting because if you're trying to teach a kid a math problem, and they're going, why do I need to know this geometry? But if they're out in a shop and let's say they're going to lay out on a piece of steel where you're going to cut out multiple pieces and you need to calculate the angle.
That's right.
Well, golly, now when you get back to the class and, you know, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, that means something. I just did that yesterday morning where I was doing my work, but laying out this metal. Now you're teaching me that in school. I better pay attention.
Exactly.
So it all works together.
Pick up
good.
the books.
Right.
That's right. Comprehension.
Exactly.
Which is something we've lost.
It becomes meaningful education.
Very much so.
Not
very
abstract.
Much so, very much so. So I mean, that's a very important piece of folks. If you hear where I'm coming from, that's why I've got Lou on here, and because we need to go in that direction for this state. And in fact, let's be a representative for the rest of the country, for that matter. They're having the same problem.
Right.
And so all of a sudden we're talking about solutions in these so-called quote poor areas, minority areas, or crime-ridden gang areas. Get the folks busy.
And so
get the folks busy. Very important.
It's unfair.
Yes, it is.
That poverty
Yes.
is disproportionate to people of color.
That's
That
right.
is not
That's
right.
right.
And all too often, it's a cycle that just keeps repeating itself. And so folks that are impoverished mostly are not there because they're lazy. Most of them are working way harder than I am, couple jobs. It's not because they're not intelligent. Most of them are smarter than me. You got to be pretty doggone smart to even survive on a low income, okay? And they don't want to be dependent on someone giving them money for their housing or their food or whatever. They want the dignity of providing for their families. But what they don't have is the same access to opportunity. What I mean with that, and this is critical. So we can all go, regardless of your financial background, we all go to the same schools. That's in theory. We all go to the same classroom. But doggone it, when you haven't had breakfast, when you're worried about what mom and dad are doing all day long, if they're going to be there when you get home tonight because they're working so hard, if you're having to take care of your younger sibling who's still in diapers, and you've got all these pressures, and you come to school in the 5th grade, you can't study and learn with the same capacity that someone who's coming from a better platform. We have to recognize that, and we have to give those folks all the same sort of starting point. We can't have a race where some people get to start up at the front and some people start back here and some people start in the very back and never get out of it. So how do you do that? You reach out to those folks and make sure that these job pathways are available. And say, hey, Bruce, how would you like to come and learn about how to work in this machine shop? And so don't worry about the books right now. Let's get you out here. We'll get you high school credit. Let's get you out here where you can see these machines in operation. I bet you get excited. There's a company in Tualatin. I tell this story because it's a fabulous story. It's called Key Knife. They make equipment that's used in the timber industry and in the paper mill industry. They're an employee-owned company. Everyone who works there owns a piece of that company. So everybody wants to work hard. Everybody wants to be productive. And they have fabulous benefits. So they've got this young man. His name is Rene. He happens to be an Hispanic boy, and he's from Woodburn. And if I have the facts correctly, he started working at this company when he was in high school, after school, part hours. And he graduated from high school. As far as I know, he's never worked anywhere else. He's now 10 years out of high school. He's working on this machine. He's in my TV ad. He makes over $75,000 a year, I believe, at that machine. And that he has been a person who's had that career path, and he worked it. It was made available to him, and look what he did with it. And everyone should have that opportunity. Well, he's got his whole family working there now because they got the same opportunity.
That's right. You got that motivation.
But there's too many kids like Rene that never get that far because that door's not open to them. We need to open those doors.
Well, you know, in all due respect, I put a little punchline for myself. I'm running for county commissioner in this particular district, District Number 2, and it's a tough area, very poor, etc. But Loretta Smith, whose term limits out of it, she's going for city council. She's been having a summer youth program. But again, it was short term.
Right.
Term limits. I mean, I'm just saying just short term, just a place to go and a secretarial stuff or anything of this nature aspect. But at the end of the day, that's it.
Right.
And there's nothing you're taking. So I'm concerned about that. So I want to take those kids and get them beyond that point.
That's right.
So rather than a summer program, let's do it while they're still going to school
and get paid for it.
Get paid for
and it's
it.
regular income.
That's right.
Maybe it's 3 days a week.
That's
Maybe
right.
it's every day
That's
after
right.
school.
That's
I don't
right.
know. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's regular income.
Yes.
It's a
Right.
regular
Right.
job,
Right.
and they know what it means to show up to work on
That's
time.
right. That's right.
They know what it means if you party too hard the night
That's
before,
right. That's right.
you can't work the next
That's right.
day.
That's right.
And they know what it means that if you're smoking dope or doing whatever
yep,
at night,
yep.
well, even though it might be legal.
Yep, yep.
I'm not here just
Yep,
to talk
right,
about that.
right.
It's legal, so you can do it. But if you're smoking dope and you can't perform job the next day, you need to know the consequences of that. Same thing with drinking.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yep,
can
yep.
if you're over 21, it's illegal to drink.
Yep.
But if you come work hungover, you can't perform your
right.
job. So people have to take responsibility not just during the workday,
right.
but in the evenings as well. The best place to learn that is when you're a kid.
Exactly.
You got some to
That's
lose.
right. That's right. And it's part of the graduation piece.
That-
part of the diploma.
That's right.
See, so while they're doing that, now all of a sudden they graduate with honors or whatever. They feel good and proud about
Right.
that whole piece. And then, and like I said, you don't have to worry about now going to community college. I've always felt very strong about the fact. I think we've gotten so sophisticated now. We need to include that as part of that first part.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? We got to.
Absolutely.
We got to, because like right now, a lot of kids, because it's a provision for them now. You can go to school at a community college, but in all due respect, they're still in high school. And at the end of the day, they still is the same results.
So there's nothing worse than when you graduate from high school, now what?
That's right. That's
Or even
right.
worse if you drop out.
That's
Now
right.
really
That's right.
now
That's
what?
right. That's right.
And I think that the other thing we have to make
We need to
sure
really work this out.
is that these jobs are viewed as a job of honor.
Yes.
Even when I was a kid, and I'm sorry to admit this, we had VOTEC and that sort of thing, but it was for the kids who couldn't cut the mustard, right? They were like, they weren't going to achieve as much, so they weren't going to go to college, so maybe they could be an auto mechanic. Well, that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. I'll never forget the house that my former wife had, which was a nicer house than mine, and I'd visit my kids there all the time, and we get along really, really well, so that's a personal story. But the house across the street in a very nice neighborhood, much more expensive house than mine. You know who lived in that house? Auto mechanic.
Wow.
So don't in any way
right.
denigrate those skills. They make really good money. Many times they make much more money than someone coming out of college. And coming out of college, they don't have the college debt
right.
people do coming out of college today. So it needs to be viewed as a job of honor. And if it's a job that's technically oriented, a young person may take that job, and you mentioned to it earlier, work it for a year or two in a mechanical field or whatever, and decide, well, maybe I should go out and get an engineering degree.
Exactly.
Or they're in the healthcare field and they're working,
Exactly.
taking care of folks
That's
in
right.
a facility, and they go, well, maybe I should get a nursing degree. Then they've got a job they can perform while they're going to college,
And pay for
keep paying the
themselves.
bills,
And pay for the job.
pay for themselves, and get the college degree. But they're not forced that way.
That's right. That's right. Because now you got a lot of kids nowadays are strapped with that bill,
Oh my goodness.
trying to go to school.
Yeah.
And they're just taking courses, but still no direction, right?
Right.
So they drop out.
And they're
all of a
unemployed
sudden-
while they're in
unemployed while
school.
they're in school.
They drop out, they're unemployed after they get out of school.
And they got this big bill sitting on there. So
Right.
how do now they're really going against the wind at that point in time. So that's why I'm saying that I think that your thoughts and some of the ideas that you bring to the table are, really, really are needed.
Well, you're right, Bruce. And
I
the
tell
thing
you.
that's been missed for so long is we talk about education, we talk about kids, we talk about skills, and that's very, very important. But we've demonstrated, unfortunately, and this is not a bad rap on anybody, but we've demonstrated as a school system, as an education system, we haven't been able to deliver that. But you know who can help in a big, big way? It's the Bureau of Labor and Industries. Industry wants to be part of the solution. They need those folks to perform those jobs. If we have a small business and we want to grow and we can't find the people with the skills, we can't grow our business. We can't serve the market. So business wants to be part of that. We need to bring them in with their expertise, their knowledge, their financing to provide those opportunities in conjunction with the schools. And that's my job, is to bring them all together.
And that's the brand.
Yeah.
It's BOLI, right?
Yes,
Bureau of Labor and Industry.
exactly.
Am I right?
That's right.
See? And that has to work. And if it works, it's all there.
It
The
will
tools are
work.
there. It can work.
Yep.
It really can work.
Yep.
And boy, I tell you, this is an exciting time. And gee whiz, I wish the other candidate was sitting here and maybe just get it, but she can view it.
You know what? It's like
Put it
Woody
that way,
Allen
just like
said,
anything else.
99% success is just showing up.
That's right. That's right. Very much so. Well, this is going to be very, very important. Now, just another brief piece in terms of who can apply for apprenticeship.
I believe anyone can apply. You have to be sponsored, I believe, and it depends on if it's union or non-union and what industry.
Right.
But the doors aren't closed, although there very well may be limits to how many they accept,
I got you.
and they may be limited based on the type of industry. Apprenticeships traditionally apply to the trades, right?
right.
Electrical, carpenters, masons,
workers, all of them.
you know, that sort of thing. Millwrights, machinists. But why shouldn't we have apprenticeships in accounting?
That's right. That's
Why
right.
shouldn't we have apprenticeships in healthcare?
That's right. That's right.
Apprenticeships in every field, in banking. So they can be
All
established by those industries because the term simply means putting someone in training, paying them, putting them beside someone who's doing the already skilled, we call those journeymen, and then going through a regimented process so when you come out you're certified. That sounds like an education to me.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Well, Lou, we're about another minute or what. Anything
Okay.
else you want to say to the voting public out there?
Well, I would say this again. Thank you for having me, Bruce. You talked about voter turnout. Doggone. Last I checked on Friday, less than 20%
Oh, my
of the votes in the state of Oregon have been turned in. Folks, we only got Monday and
That's right.
Tuesday,
That's right.
and by 8 o'clock the polls close.
Yes.
You can't mail it. You have to take it to a library or a drop box. You can go onto Secretary of State's website, find out where those drop boxes are. But doggone, you gotta vote. I hope you vote for me. But if you don't vote for me, at least vote. Don't leave it up to someone else to make the decision for your future.
And I'll add to that and say, hey, get the county involved. Get Bruce
That's
Broussard.
right.
Okay? Get us both in there.
That's
Lou,
right.
This is really a pleasure.
It's
And
my
thank you very
pleasure.
much. Okay, buddy. I think we're going to do it.
We are going to do
Okay,
it.
go Oregon.
Thank you for
Okay,
having me.
go Oregon
The
with
best,
Lou and Bruce.
the best for Oregon, the Bruce and Lou.
All right, there you
That's
go.
Right.
Okay, good. Folks, thank you very much. Do get out to vote, please. Whoever you vote for, whether it be myself, my opponent, whatever, but get out and vote. Express your right. Have a good one. See you after voting day. See you next Sunday. Take care. Happy Mother's Day. Hey folks, I'm Bruce Broussard, and as you might know, I'm running to be your next county commissioner. But I will continue to host our Oregon Voters Digest, and will likely share my views on important issues here. And since this is going to be a very important election year for everyone, I'm opening this platform for other political candidates to share their views too. So, if whether you're also running for Multnomah County Commissioner, or if you are going to be on the ballot in any other position in our viewing area, you are welcome to come on this show and tell us what you are all about. This is an open invitation to anyone running for any office in the Portland area. We broadcast our show live every Sunday afternoon here in Northeast Portland and would love to share the stage with you. If you're interested, send us an email at ovdguests@gmail.com. The email should be displayed on your screen now. So, come on down, write me an email, and tell me who you are, what position you're running for, and maybe a little about yourself. Again, our email is ovdguests@gmail.com. Even if you're not running for office, be sure to stay tuned over the next several months. You're going to want to know how your candidates stand on the issues and how they plan to represent you. Have a great week, folks. Everybody, I love you. Take care.